Aber jetzt gibt es noch einen letzten Act. Die ist mit uns auf Tour gefahren nach Wels und nach Salzburg und wir wissen, dass ja ziemlich mega ist. Deshalb bitte gebt einen großen Applaus unserem PCCC Resident, Jules Gleeson!
Once you've finished, all right. So, I'm a big fan of stereotypes. That was a bit nervous, wasn't it? There was some nervous laughter in that crowd. Like, it's quite a curious position, like being pro-stereotype as a politically correct comedian. Like, that's quite an unusual stance. But I think that stereotypes are kind of like hip dips. They're just kind of there. They're probably not going to go away, and like you definitely shouldn't let them stop you getting naked and doing what you want to do. Like, I think stereotypes, like, they have this kind of beautiful aspect. And what's more, like, they're not as threatening as they once were. I think a lot of us probably grew up with heterosexual stereotypes being, like, a big feature of our lives. But now, like, now for queers, there are just too many letters for people to keep track of. Like, LGBTQIA, right? That's like too many letters for your average heterosexual to really compute. So they get lazy. They just kind of double up and use, like, the same set of stereotypes for all these different things. But, like, I think I'm going to try and cover them all this evening. I'm going to try and cover every letter except the A, because A is, like, ambiguous. A is kind of... A is the source of many arguments. I don't know if anyone's got a strong opinion on this one, but some people think that A should be asexuals. Asexuals. No one wanted to laugh at that. It's great. And some people think that it should be allies. That's another contender. So asexuals and allies. But, like, I don't really care. I don't like it when people put in both. So some people say LGBTQIAA. So, like, LGBTQIA. Like, that's... I think that's, like, that's a short-term thinking solution, because, like... So I think like we can do an arm wrestling. Like, if you've got one asexual, one ally, you can, like, battle for it. No? Okay. I guess I'll start with the less controversial letters then. All right. So LGBTQI. Lesbians, right? So the main association with lesbians is just that you never see them. Like, you never see lesbians. They're never out on the scene. They're, like, kind of AWOL or in hiding. And it's kind of like a source of anxiety. It's like, what if we held a party and no lesbians came? That's, like, the fear for any queer. And where are they? Are there like secret sapphic house parties which we're not invited to? Like, probably. It's like a mysterious feature, but it was solved in 2018. They had this one bit of social science research. So I'm not just sprouting bigotry. This was the research which showed in 2018 that there's this thing called the orgasm gap, right? And they showed this scientifically. Everyone knew about it, but now it's science. 52,000 people. They interviewed 52,000 people about how often you orgasm, and they interviewed all genders, all sexualities, and the discoveries were unsurprising. Unsurprising. Men, it doesn't really matter who men have sex with. Like, men kind of come no matter what gender, whatever, it's fine. For real. Straight men, it's 94, gay men are at 89, and bisexual men are at, like, 88, so it's very, like, close cluster. So for gays, it's kind of, like, indeterminate. For women, things look slightly different. So for women you have 65% for the straight women, 65% orgasm most times or all times, okay? 66 for bisexuals, right? 1% gap. And then there's a 24% climb, right? So lesbians are at 89%. 89... Yeah. Give yourself a round of applause, lesbians. Like, good job. That's impressive. And it's the same as the gay man. It's beautiful. There's, like, perfect symmetry, right? It's one of my favorite facts. Yeah, so lesbians are just at home, like, having very orgasmic sex. They don't need to leave the house. That's fine. Why would you? Just don't stop. All right. So don't reject stereotypes out of hand. Like, sometimes they've got this truth in them. Gays, right. So we're at the two, like, most widely known ones are right at the start, and then we get into other territories. So, like, gays, right. So gays are, like, the opposite of lesbians. Like, it's a bit of a Beyonce song in this respect. It's like, who runs the scene? Gays. Who runs the motherfucking scene? It's definitely gays, right? So, like, everything's kind of for them. They've got their own bars, their own saunas. Not their own bars, sure, anyone can go into the bar, but like the sex clubs, the saunas, you're just not allowed in if you're not a man. So like you kind of have to end up knowing a lot more about gay men than maybe they would know about you, and you kind of can't escape it because any venue you go to, you're sort of like the minority group within the minority group. It's mostly gay dudes. In so many cases. So like you come to this pretty strong understanding, I would say. And the main thing with stereotypes is that like the heterosexual stereotypes are like exactly wrong. At least when it comes to this scene, right? Because we all know the heterosexual stereotypes are gay men are like feminine. They're flaming, you know, expressive, flamboyant. They're fashionable. They're like theatrical, you know. They're more likely to be seen like at an opera than like going for a jog. That's like the associations which the heterosexual world has. Now, if you see any actual adverts for gay events, it's a little bit unclear whether this is like a disco or an anabolic steroid convention, like heavy-duty muscular physiques, naked, ripped torsos. That's the gay aesthetic. And it's just an aesthetic. Like, obviously, not all gay men actually look like this, but this is the ideal. And this is like, if you show up to one of these parties and you get topless and you're ripped, you know, that's quite a good position. If you show up, you know, there's other ways. Yeah, the ideals don't really match up with the reality of gay male physique. And I think it's very sad. And it gets even more sad on, like, Grindr or Scruff or Hornet. You know, obviously as a queer woman, I use a lot of gay apps, like gay hookup apps. That's just part of my life. Stands to reason, like, you're not going to find the Twinkie bisexuals, like, out in a gay bar, right? That's not where they go to. But they also don't go to, like, Grindr and Hornet. You can't find, like, everyone on there is not only, like, muscular, like, heavy-duty muscular physiques, or at least Photoshop would have it suggest. They even, like, specify. They're like, no fats and no femmes. And a few of them go further. They also get racist. They're like, no femmes, no fats, no black people, nobody interesting. I just want muscles. Like, that's this whole this whole mask for mask thing, which not only do I find hostile, I also find it kind of quite interesting. It's like this straight acting. This is the term they use a lot. It's like straight acting. It's like, how straight acting can you be if you're a man inserting the genitals of other men into your mouth? Like, that's kind of like, it's not, well, it is straight male behavior, but anyway. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, it's just the case that when you're, like, yeah, when you encounter these gay men, and you can tell the heterosexuals on this app, they're very visible because they'll be wearing, like, heavy puffer jackets. They'll be like, you know, if they're muscular, they'll have skipped leg day, so there'll be a slight capsizing risk. You know, you can find the heterosexuals, like, at a glance. There's no mistaking them, and they're much less impressive. So, like, ultimately, I've got to say, like, you know, gay men are doing pretty well, but maybe, like, a bit more time at opera, a bit less time at the gym. Like, come on, live up to that heterosexual stereotype. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. Oh, no, this is the difficult one. Bisexuals. And this is where I got, like, greedy. This is where I got really confused. Like, confused over all of my different options. So indecisive, that's me, you know. I even, like, get to the stage where I'm like, am I even a queer comedian at all? Maybe I'm just doing it for, like, straight attention, you know? Maybe that's what's going on here. Yeah. No, but for real, bisexual stereotypes are, like, endless, and they all center around this idea that, like, people don't really want bisexuals to exist. It's just kind of awkward. They just don't get it. Like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, gay people and straight people, that's one thing, but, like, mixing it together, I'm not into it. Like, they really don't like it. And this is what a lot of it comes down to. And it gets especially bad. I've got to say, especially bad are the lesbians and the straight women. Yeah, funny. And obviously when I say the lesbians are pretty bad, I mean they're not as bad as straight men. Like, they're not one of the leading causes of death for women like straight men are for bisexuals. But that's just men. They just kill everyone. It's nothing particular about bisexual women, which is setting them off, right? But great one to applaud on, right? No, but within the stereotyping game, lesbians are the worst. They're just like, right, I can't date a bisexual woman. I've heard this 1,000 times. I can't date a bisexual woman. We'll get together, I'll get attached, and then she's going to leave me for a man. Yeah, she's going to leave me, she's going to be with a dude, and then I'll be extra heartbroken. I'll be, like, doubly heartbroken, because I'm heartbroken and also I'm not enough as a lady. right? That's the lesbian biphobia. And it's bizarre. Like, don't you know about the orgasm gap? Like, don't tell on yourself. Like, what a thing to be insecure about. Like, bisexuals are the experts in the orgasm gap, you know, bisexual women. We know all about that. I have a suspicion, right, why is it only 1% higher? Why are straight women on 65 and bisexuals are on 66? You'd think would be a bit more in between, but I think it's just that, like, we know what we're missing, so we enjoy sex with men a lot less. Like, we can't pretend this is the best thing that is possible, because we know. So, right. And then you get to like, okay, right, so biphobia stage 2. Yeah, straight women and bisexual men, this is just baffling to me. Because there's a dose of like your homophobia. Some just think it's disgusting. I don't like the thought of someone having sex with a man and then having sex with me. Standard issue homophobia. And then it's like, then there's the biphobia as well. They're like, well, maybe he's attracted to men, so he's not really attracted to like me, to women. And this is so common. Like people just think you can't be a bisexual guy. You can only be like you're really gay, like deep down on the inside. That's what they think. And it's just like, well, maybe he wants a sexual partner who's going to leave the gym once a month, you know? Like maybe that's maybe that's it. Maybe you're doing things that another man can't. And this is a thing. And also like mostly the main victim of that form of biphobia, let's be honest, is straight women. Like you're passing up partners who know how to rim or like fist you. Like really, that is your loss. And if we're gonna close this orgasm gap, if we're gonna like get that gap down to maybe 12%, I don't know. I think educating straight men is not the most efficient way. It's probably like encouraging sex between straight men and bisexual men. Straight women. We can encourage that too. Encouraging sex between straight women and like the experts, right? That's how we're going to resolve it. Anyway, so that's all the bisexual material. Really, I could talk all night about bisexuals, but I guess we should move on to trans people who no one really has any stereotypes about, I'm sure. Like everyone loves trans people, right? Nervous laughter again. Everyone loves trans people. No one would say a nasty thing. No, the main issue with trans people is like the stereotype is like stereotypes. Stereotypes is the trans stereotype. People think like trans people's gender identities are just a medley of kind of stuff they've mashed together from like watching TV and watching their sisters or something. Because no like cisgender person would ever do that, right? No. So this is a thing, and it creates this interesting double bind where you can't go too far into your like target gender, whatever that might be. You can't be a woman who's too feminine or a man who's too masculine, or people are like, oh, you're trying too hard. But you also like, if you make no effort, if you're just literally doing nothing, then people are like, well, you're not even trying. Like, give me something to work with. And so this is why like. Yeah, this is why you've got kind of like, most people will only kind of leave the house, most trans people will only leave the house when they've got like their A game on. They need to do like an extra managing effort to like work out and navigate the sweet spot between those two kind of poles. So yeah, that's the issue. And if like you know a trans person, what this means is that you can kind of tell you're actually friends with them when you see them when they're a bit of a mess. Like, a bit of a mess, and also like, yeah, if you see a trans woman with like messy hair, no makeup, she invites you to a powerlifting championship, like you can tell that you're actually like close to her. And like, yeah, and with trans men, it's yeah, if like he suggests you're gonna come around and he's gonna bake cookies and he's gonna wear like a floral apron when you get there, that's again like a strong hint. So like, so this is the upside of stereotypes, but it's quite limited. Anyway. So like, I guess we're at the end of LGBT, which is like the ones everyone is sort of vaguely familiar with. And now we move into like the weird zone. Some people even just say LGBT plus, you know? Plus is just gonna cover all those real weirdos, and we're not even gonna specify, all right? Yeah, I don't like plus. But Q is like like Q is controversial. That's the Q. Like Q is so controversial because some people call themselves queers all day long, and some people really don't like it. Some people have this real aversion to it, you know? It's like vibrators. Like, they're very divisive issues that just... people aren't sure about it. And I kind of like queer kind of how it is, where it's like, can a straight person use the word queer? Well, kind of, but they feel really awkward and they like shuffle. I mean, my day job is a queer theorist, so I know this one. Like, they get very like, you know, looking down at the table. Like, it's kind of adorable. So like, I think queer is currently where it kind of needs to be. We need to keep queer like as it's doing. Wow, if you thought that one was great, I'm going to move into intersex material now. All right, so intersex stuff is the hardest thing to tell a joke about. I've been out as an intersex person since 2016. I've never done a set about it because it's like comedy requires some kind of degree of familiarity, right? You need to have some kind of moment of recognition and to like get it. But with intersex people, like the level of cluelessness is quite advanced, even among other queers. For real. Like, you never ask someone if they're intersex, because they might just be like, yeah, I'm intersex, it's great. I'm not one of those asexuals, I'm just an ally, right? But like, you know, that's the reality of it, and like, it's difficult. It takes like some explanation, and the simplest way I can put it is like, intersex is sort of this medical term that ended up a movement, kind of accidentally, because doctors would use this term intersex to like describe someone born with ambiguous sexual traits, and then they kind of didn't like it because people were using this term and they were like, well, maybe you shouldn't perform surgeries on us, give us hormones without our consent, and so on. And doctors were like, that's okay, we'll rebrand it. We'll say that you're not intersex, you have a disorder of sex development, right? DSD. You've got a disorder of sex development. And this kind of makes me wonder how orderly these doctors' genitals really were. Like, like how tidy are we talking? Like some manscaping going on there, like everything all in order. But yeah, but with intersex stuff, right, and there's this kind of very harsh curve between people knowing nothing and people going, oh, that's horrible. So like, you definitely don't want to like tell jokes about it or like use material, right? But yeah, that's kind of the issue with it. And also, we don't really have like an established culture. We definitely don't have venues. There are no kind of like intersex venues, like the way there's a gay bar. You can't just like be like, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with some intersex people tonight. That's not really an option. We don't really have bars. We just have conferences. And and that's an improvement. We got to use the Rathaus 2 times. That was very fancy. Like, yeah, so that's an improvement. But it's still kind of getting there. And like the one time I had a conversation with another activist about this, another intersex activist about this issue, and what they said to me was like, you know, the distinctive thing about intersex culture is we all seem to wear black. So, so I guess I'm flying the flag for you tonight. I mean, that or I'm just a goth, right? Okay, so that brings us to the end of LGBTQI. I don't know if the asexuals and allies have decided at this point. Any consensus? No, okay. A is not agreement tonight. We don't have that solved. But nevertheless, I just want to wrap up by saying it's lovely to be performing back in Vienna once again. And yeah, and like these things are horrible. Stereotypes are horrible, but really just like what's most important is you don't want to let the bastards win. You know, you can't let a nasty stereotype get in the way of like a fun night out if that's what you want to do. Or if you're a lesbian, probably a loud night in. Like that. That's what we've got to do. Thanks a lot.